We live in a more progressive society, so why doesn't the hijab change with the time?
Why doesn't the hijab change with time? Now, when we want to understand how Islamic rulings work, Islamic ruling which was revealed at the time of the Prophet can be divided into two. Either it is hukm Shariah al-waqi'i or zahiri. Waqi'i means, hukm Shariah al-waqi'i means a ruling that the legislator has applied to an action without any condition or restriction. That means the way the legislator has assigned it, it will remain the same throughout every society regardless of the change in time that comes across. What does hukm zahiri mean? Hukm zahiri means that we might not have, it applies to an action with a condition. So basically, sometimes we may not know the actual ruling, and when we cannot find the actual ruling for an action, the legislator then assigns an apparent religious ruling for that action, so to prevent the jurist from being perplexed in practical matters. For example, the issue of Bitcoin. In the time of the Prophet, there was no such thing as Bitcoin. We didn't know what. So today, if you want to look at it, the ruling that you will get now is a hukm zahiri. It's not a hukm waqi'i. So when we look at the topic of hijab, hijab itself is a hukm waqi'i. That means it was revealed in a specific manner in the time of the Prophet, and it with specific conditions which cannot change over time. But then what people would say is, or what we have, those on the other side of the spectrum will say, well, hijab was designed to cover the nakedness of the body. Therefore, today, if something covers it, therefore, well, there's no need to wear the hijab. There's no need to. Society has changed. Today, the head covering is no longer seen as a sign of chastity by some, right? But let's look at this. Let's break this argument down. Islamic law or Shariah is based on divine revelation, which is considered eternal, unchanging, and absolute. So, and the Quran says this. وَنَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ تِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ وَهُدًى وَرَحْمَةً وَبُشْرَى لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. We have revealed the book to you, explaining clearly everything, and a guidance and mercy and good news for those who submit. So if the Quran has revealed everything, and we have the hukm waqi'i of the hijab, and the hijab has already been designed and specified in a specific manner, what brings about the argument that it can change over time? Secondly, those on the other side of the spectrum say that the hijab was initially revealed in order to cover the body and to make sure that women are not harassed, so that they be known and they're not harassed. Now, this argument would only be valid if we say that this specific, that they're known and not harassed, was an illat for the ruling. But what the scholars have defined it, they've defined it as a wisdom for the ruling, not an illat. If it was an illat, yes, it could change over time because the cause and the effect would change. But however, since it is not a cause, therefore the effect does not apply to it. It is a wisdom. It is a wisdom so that women are known. They're known for the chastity and for the spirituality, and not harassed for being able to go into society. That is, they're able to go into society in a free manner rather than being confined into the houses. The third point that we need to mention is that religious rulings are aimed at guiding behavior, self-discipline, and inner improvement in humans. So, since understanding the inner self and recognizing one's own essence are always the most challenging forms of knowledge, the greatest unknown for humans is a self-awareness. Now, when the hijab is something that we may not understand ourselves, but because it is a hukm waqi'i and it is one that is decided and legislated by the legislator, that is Allah, therefore there is no way we can change the ruling, given that it has been given within a specific condition with no chance of changing the ruling. And if we understand the concept and the meaning of jilbab, as we mentioned in the previous videos, during the time of the Prophet, as we said, Sayyidah Fatima would go out with a khimar and a jilbab. We cannot now, in this instance, given that it is a hukm waqi'i, we cannot impose any other instances for it, just as we cannot establish different instances for the prayer. Just as the way the Prophet prayed in his time, we have to pray together today. Same way, how the hijab was worn in the time of the Prophet has to be practiced in the same way today, because it has been conditioned in a specific manner and it has been given a specific ruling which is not subject to change over time.